Holy fuck. Welcome back, everybody. I am basically a boomer, and I don't know what's going on, and I drink too much beer. This is Sorcerers of Cinema. Sorcerer's Cinema. Something something. This is Yakov here with Jeremy Eldritch.
Hello.
Okay, today we have a couple things to go over. Main course is going to be Zeitgeist, everyone's favorite conspiracy movie from the early 2000s. But first, I want to take us back in time a little bit and look at a man named, the fuck's his name? Eric Pryor?
Yes.
Yes. This was the man who was in the first installment of Sorcerer's Cinema, and he he was playing the part of a Jesus boy who was going around pointing at all the telltale signs of satanic cults in the area. Correct?
Right. And it was all kind of very much staged. And after reading that article, the one that you mentioned that I actually had read, it said that his whole conversion in the time of that doing him doing that video was might have been a PR stunt. So it was like I just found out today his second conversion to Christianity because it said he had converted from paganism to Christianity back in the 70s, and then back to paganism, and then back to Christianity again in the 90s, which was when the video was made. Uh, and then a lot of I guess his friends or people like that are saying that it was all just kind of a stunt.
All right. Well, I
Yeah,
have a bit of an article about this guy, and hopefully I can get through it fairly quickly. It's not too long, and I can read fast. So let's do
great.
this. The witch who switched back. I'm gonna not talk like a retard. I promise you. Double vision. Christian minister turned Satanist says he sees it all more clearly now. A Halloween visit with a man who is either a New Age Christian healer, a Satan worshipping hedonist, or an ordinary drunken charlatan, depending on whom you talk to. In retrospect, the sign off was probably a bad idea. Not to knock a good sinus medication, on a sleepless night it can be a godsend, but en route to an interview with a satanic high priest turned Christian evangelist with a weakness for backsliding, it might have been a good idea to remain alert. But I had a sinus. This. Talking about a fucking sinus headache. Why are you talking about yourself, lady? Alright. He was then still at a San Jose's Jubilee Christian Center saving souls for the Lord and passing around the collection bucket. Not plate, bucket. He had been so open, as we talked about, his sordid past, presiding over a sadistic satanic sect in New York, so calm and pleasant as he revealed how he and his minions had lured unsuspecting clubgoers back to their basement temple to get their late night jollies, torturing and beating the poor fools half to death. Sounds like a stand up guy. It's the type of guy I would expect to rock a mullet, honestly.
Yeah, probably a lot of fun at parties.
Indeed. I marveled at his composure as he related these tales. How did a person forgive himself such atrocities, especially one who was so moved by the Holy Spirit that he joined the ministry? The subject of a 1995 Metro story headlined The Witch Who Switched. Pryor had first jumped teams in 1990 after a public cursing he had organized in San Francisco, San Francisco, to counter a visit by Texas televangelist Larry Lee, who was crusading against devilish stuff like homosexuality and paganism. But after Lee's effigy had been burned and the smoke had cleared, Pryor met with his church-going rivals. So basically, he was hanging out with a troop of fags, protesting, I don't know,
Right.
like decent politics, I guess. Like, I don't know, I hate
Whatever.
to say it like that, but he and Dick Bernal, head of Jubilee, had a coffee clatch. What is that? Some kind of fucking Yiddish word? And Pryor decided to go to bat for the forces of good. He went on to make a career at preaching at Jubilee and using his vast knowledge of satanic practices to help conduct investigations, complete with vials and baggies into devilish activities around the country. So, does it sound like this guy's actually an occultist at all to you?
Armchair occultist, maybe.
Well, and then
um,
I think even further, like, isn't like the greatest occultist the one who's able to just make people believe all sorts of crazy shit and just like get by life that way? Isn't that magic?
it's
That's
hard
like
to say. I
strong
mean,
magic.
I would say the person whose magic works best is somebody who just has a good life and doesn't have to worry about anything and lays low and doesn't have any shit come their way.
Well, speaking of laying low, this next paragraph will be relevant. But the Eric Pryor who'd called me 2 weeks before Halloween reported that his life was taking a turn again. He had walked away from Jubilee last November because of its money-grubbing ways and hypocrisy. He was now in hiding.
It's,
He was laying low, he explained.
it's that Kolsch guy.
Exactly. Whatever the fuck that means. Training. Yeah, I don't know what that word was. Training a company of shamanic prophets to heal young people of sickness in body or spirit, including drug addiction. And I was invited to visit his new work environment. So yeah, if I was trying to get off fucking heroin, this is the guy I'd see, definitely. The drug
Yeah.
warrior. Members of the Serene Foundation, located in the Santa Cruz Mountains on Branciforte Road, employ a blend of Christianity and Satanism, and also natural healing. Pryor had explained in our telephone conversation. We'll do laying on of hands, prayer rituals, whatever, he said. As a seasonal bonus, the Serene Foundation makes its home in the 38-room mansion once inhabited by Elizabeth Montgomery, star of the blah blah blah. Ever helpful, Pryor had already thought of a headline when he called. The witch who switched is switching back, he announced with glee, and lives in the house of God. This is trash, but basically what you can see is that this guy's a total fucking degenerate who switched teams more than fucking anybody. And I don't know, how many times can you be born again before it's just invalid? Like, can you just be born again once? So, like, is it the first being born again that's supposed to stick, or is like, can that one just not count?
I think the first one cannot count because I think in his case it said he was a teenager or something. So who knows? Who knows? This guy's just a weird Wiccan as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. All right. Well, fuck this then. Fuck this guy. I'm sick of looking at his fucking mullet. Done and done. On to
Yeah.
Zeitgeist.
My favorite part of the article is where it says on June 7th, 2009, Pryor was hit by a truck while
Yeah.
crossing the street in Carson City, Nevada, and died of his injuries.
I almost forgot that. We almost forgot to mention how the story ends. How the great story of law enforcement against satanic cults ends.
Right.
Motherfucker just got
Yeah.
hit by a truck.
Yeah. Except that black police guy became the first black police chief.
Holy fuck! I was that Prentice? Is that the right
Yeah.
guy? There's a fucking story
Yep.
about him. He was caught in Fajita Gate. I bet if I
Oh
look this up,
God.
I bet if I look this up right now, I can find his disgraced ass. Oh my god. Hold up.
Didn't hear about that.
I got this. Don't worry.
All right.
Prentice E. Sanders. Prentice E. Sanders, also known as Earl Sanders, was a member of the San Francisco Police Department from 1964 through 2003. He became the first African American chief of that department in 2002. His tenure was marked by Fajita Gate, a scandal over a street brawl involving several officers, followed by an impeached investigation, which led to his eventual departure. So we're gonna go further into Fajita Gate, just because I can't help myself. Fajita
Yeah.
Gate was a series of legal and political incidents in San Francisco that began with a street fight on November 20th, 2002. The fight involved three off-duty San Francisco police officers, Alex Fagan Jr., David Lee, and Matt Tongsing, and two San Francisco residents, Adam Snyder and Jade Santoro. I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, I can tell. Wow. It's
The
cool.
incident, as reported the next day in the San Francisco Chronicle, Snyder and Santoro reported that they were leaving the bar when they were approached by three men who demanded a bag of takeout food, the eponymous fajitas, which Snyder was taking home. Snyder refused. Santoro told them to leave him alone. Words were exchanged, a fight broke out, a beer bottle or some other blunt object was thrown, and minor injuries were suffered by Snyder and serious injuries by Santoro. Snyder called
Hmm.
911. Snyder did 911 on his cell phone and reported that Santoro was being beaten. He then identified the attackers to the responding officers as three men who drove past the scene in a white pickup truck. The pickup was stopped and the three off-duty officers were identified, questioned, and let go. No arrests were made that night. This
Hmm.
is a little suspect, right? The boy having your boys back. The boys in blue. You don't cross that blue line, I hear.
I just make sure I keep mine bribed.
Exactly. Scandal. The scandal subsequently expanded and would take until 2005 to reach a final criminal resolution. Accused police officer Alex Fagan Jr. was the son of San Francisco Police Department Assistant Chief Alex Fagan. It was subsequently alleged by then San Francisco District Attorney Terrence Hallinan that Elder Fagan, Chief Prentice E. Sanders, and 9 other officers were involved in a cover-up of the initial criminal acts of the 3 off-duty officers. Sanders and 9 other senior officers were indicted by Hallinan and arrested on February 28, 2003 for the crime of obstruction of justice. Sanders took a leave of absence due to the charges, and Alex Fagan Sr., the next most senior officer, automatically became the acting chief. Acting Chief Alex Fagan Sr. in turn resigned in early 2004 and was replaced by Heather Fong on January 22nd, 2004. So basically,
Wow.
we're seeing this whole fucking film, that whole fucking law enforcement guide to satanic cults was all a sham made by imposters and people who have just been totally fucking incompetent.
Well, what
Totally.
about the narrator guy? The main guy. I don't know what happened to him, did we? Or did we? Didn't
The
we?
the disembodied voice? I thought that was God.
The guy with the sweaters.
The
The host.
reverend and police officer.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's doing great today.
I don't remember his name.
who
Oh
who
well.
could? Who would? Who would ever?
Or else I would have had my
Actually,
or else I would have had my
with
people look him up.
Watch
dealing with
Zeitgeist.
Yep,
intuitions
Zeitgeist. Remember the first time I saw this, it blew my goddamn
in the
mind.
theistic tradition,
I was just like, what?
there is notion of
Really well made.
clinging
Everybody has to
into a
watch
work.
this.
Me too, dude.
A certain act is regarded as displeasing to divine principles. A certain act is regarded as pleasing for the divine whatever.
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 In the tradition of non-theism, however, it is very direct that the case history are not particularly important. What is actually important is here and now. Here and now. Now is definitely now.
Chagyam Trungpa Rinpoche. I can't say these words. I want to say Chagyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Are you familiar with him?
No.
That's
Not at
fucking
all.
whole subject unto itself. In the background that I use on my stream, there's an image of him. So he pops up once in a while. This was a
Oh.
Zen Buddhist monk who is known for the massive amounts of cocaine and alcohol he would consume before his lectures, and also plowing fucking cars into walls.
Nice.
Worth looking into. Very fucking interesting.
Sounds like it.
We try to experience what is available there on the spot. There's no point in thinking that a past did exist that we could have now. This is now. This very moment. Nothing mystical, just now, very simple, straightforward. And from that nowness, however, arises a sense of intelligence, always, that you're constantly interacting with the reality one by one, spot by spot, constantly. We actually experience fantastic precision, always. But we are threatened by the now, so we jump to the past or the future.
I think that's fucking beautiful right there. And like, it seems so simple, and it's something people say a lot. It's like, be here now and all that. But it's so important to understand that like there is no past or future. It literally does not exist, and all you ever get is one moment that's ever changing, but it's only ever one moment.
Well, really, that moment doesn't exist. It's always either just past or just coming. I mean, the moment itself is, what is that?
The
A
moment is
millisecond, a nanosecond?
it's fleeting.
a
It's
minute.
definitely fleeting, but you're aware of it.
Yep.
It's
Sure.
enough time
Yeah.
to be aware.
Your
And
consciousness. Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
True.
Paying attention to the materials that exist in our life all these choices takes place all the time, but none of them are regarded as bad or good per se. Everything we experience are unconditional experience. They don't come along with a label by saying this is regarded as bad, or this is good. But we experience them, but we don't actually pay heed to them properly. We don't actually regard that as that we are going somewhere. We regard that as a hassle, waiting to be dead. Waiting to be dead. Waiting to be dead. Waiting to be dead. That's the problem. And that is not trusting the nowness properly, that what is actually experienced now possessed a lot of powerful things. It is so powerful that we can't face it. Therefore, we have to borrow from the past, invite the future all the time. And maybe that's why we seek religion. Maybe that's why we march in the street. Maybe that's why we complain to the society. Maybe that's why we vote for the presidents. It's quite ironical. Very funny indeed.
Oh wow, trippy visuals. Wow, I'm
Right.
hypnotized. It's mind control, bro.
Probably.
I hope so. Just make me believe anything else, anything that's not my life, really. Oh, fucking beautiful destruction. Let it come. Let it happen. I'm ready.
Right.
I'm holding on to that fucking fence. Let the fucking nukes come.
Yeah, we won't know what's happening. As soon as we realize it'll be too late. It'll be glorious.
I hope so. Hey, as long as we can all die at once, it'll be great.
Probably. Or at least a hemisphere will die at once. So I think I'm gonna skip ahead some of the cinematics here,
Yeah, dude.
just to get to some of the
Feel free.
chatting. Oh, still
We're just gonna
Still
watch
are.
I
this.
don't know what God is, but I know
Watch
what He
fucking
isn't.
9/11 like it's
And
CNN
unless
on
and
fucking
until
9/12.
you are prepared
we should put
to
that
look
on the
at the whole
schedule.
truth, and wherever it may go, whoever it may lead to, the more you educate yourself, the more you understand where things come from, the more obvious things become, and you begin to see lies everywhere. You have to know the truth and seek the truth, and the truth will set you free.
How do you feel about Jordan Maxwell?
I haven't watched much.
Really? I see.
I mean,
It sucks. I just want to make fun of him. He's the kind of guy who'll be like, well, well, everything. Oh my God, everything's got to be some crazy conspiracy thing with this guy. So he'll be like, the word "on," you see, is like you turn a light switch on and the light comes on. Well, you see, in the old days, Osiris was called On. So when that's why they called it On. So when you turn the light switch on, the light comes on. These are arguments
yeah,
they'll
like
actually
I
make.
yeah, I mean I've seen him come up in YouTube search results for other similar nonsense. So I know of him, but yeah, he's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I like to see him come up in this fucking documentary. All these, dude, that's the thing. They just brought up Massey. That guy was like an archaeologist, like in his spare time, and was probably never even in Egypt or something. Every fucking reference in this goddamn movie is trash, to be honest.
Likewise,
Yeah.
they were also very aware of the stars. The tracking of the stars allowed them to recognize and anticipate events which occurred over long periods of time, such as eclipses and full moons. They in turn catalog celestial groups into what we know today as constellations.
It's true.
This is the cross of the zodiac, one of the oldest conceptual.
Do you have a speaker on?
I don't think so. Let me check.
Images in
No, just in my headset.
human history. It reflects the sun as it figuratively passes through the 12 major constellations over the course of a year. It also reflects the 12 months of the year, the 4 seasons, and the solstices and equinoxes. The term zodiac relates to the fact that constellations were anthropomorphized, or personified, as figures or animals. In other words, the early civilizations did not just follow the sun and stars, they personified them with elaborate myths involving their movements and relationships. The sun, with its life-giving and saving qualities, was personified as a representative of the unseen creator or God. God's son.
So what's your sign, Yakov?
Of humankind.
I am a Gemini.
Likewise, the 12
Gemini.
constellations represent places of travel for God's son.
I'm a Capricorn.
Identified by names, usually representing elements of nature that happened during that period of time. For
I don't
example,
feel any
Aquarius,
particular way
the
about
water bearer,
Capricorns.
who brings the spring rains.
I don't really feel any particular way about Geminis. I know they get a bad rap, but
This is Horus. He is the sun god of Egypt of around 3000 BC.
So,
He is the sun, anthropomorphized, and his life is a series of allegorical
well, I mean, a lot of it has to
myths
do
involving
with
sun movement in the sky.
your moon
From
sign and
ancient
your
hieroglyphics in
ascending
Egypt,
sign
we
and
know
all that
much
stuff
about the
too.
solar
So
Messiah.
it's not so simple as
For
just
instance, Horus, being
your
the sun
sun
or the
sign.
light, had an enemy known as Set, and Set was the personification of the darkness or night. And
Spooky.
metaphorically speaking, every morning Horus would win the battle against Set, while in the evening Set would conquer Horus
With his
and
flamethrower.
send him into the underworld. It is important to note that dark versus light, or good versus evil, is one of the most ubiquitous mythological dualities ever known, and is still expressed on many levels to this day. Broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary. His birth was accompanied by a star in the east, and upon his birth he was adored by 3 kings. At the age of 12, he was a prodigal child teacher, and at the age of 30, he was baptized by a figure known as...
okay, so, like, this is basically all just trash.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's all trash, but I think a
it
lot
might
of
be,
it's
though.
lot of
Here is not trash?
I think the born of a virgin part might have been original Egyptian mythology.
Well, you tell me the story. What's the story? How
I
did
don't know
Isis
for
get-
sure. I couldn't say.
I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you.
Well, the thing is, what happened, what the story eventually became, is that all the original Egyptian stories and all that were changed whenever they were trying to convert Egyptians to Christianity. They were like, well, this guy, he was born on the same day, and we all have the same stories as our Jesus, and look, it's the same as Horus, they're the same person, and
So you
it all
agree
kind of
with,
got convoluted.
so you agree with that? You agree with that supposition then? But that is the supposition that, like, that's the crap that Zeitgeist is going with.
They're going with a lot of the, yeah. I mean the.
So do you have a conception of the Horus myth, like, aside from that? 'Cause,
Not that
it's
I've
there.
not that I've researched heavily, but
The story is that Set kills Osiris, and then chops him up into I forget exactly, something like 13 pieces. One of which being his dong. So he takes all
Right.
the pieces and he gets rid of them all over the fucking place. And Isis goes about looking for the pieces, and all she can find, or she finds all the pieces except for his dong. So she makes it out of like clay or gold, or depending on what story it is, but she makes it out of something, and she like puts Osiris back together with this clay or gold dong, and she bangs him, and then that's how Horus is born. So you could make the argument that like it wasn't a real penis, so it was like she didn't have sex actually, and he was born from a miracle. but I think it's like a serious stretch to even compare
Right.
it to the Jesus story at all.
It all is, and it's at the end of the day, it's all translations of translations of translations, and
Yeah.
you know,
Sure.
depends what your source is.
Surely.
As Anup, and thus began his ministry. Horace had 12 disciples he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water. Horace was known by many gestural names such as the Truth, the Light, God's Anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and many others. After
Trash.
Yeah, I'm
being
not sure
betrayed by
that
typhus,
any of that's true. I mean, probably loosely translated versions of those names, maybe like I don't know, like Bounty of Ra or something that may be translated as the Lamb of God, and probably the
Yeah.
Light, but
Trash.
yeah, it's all.
fun, Horace was crucified, buried for 3 days, and thus resurrected.
Trash.
These attributes of Horus, whether original or not, seem to permeate many cultures of the world, for many other gods are found to have the same general mythological structure.
Let's go through all the trash.
Attis of Phrygia, born of the Virgin Nana on December 25th, crucified, placed in a tomb, and after
Would love to see anyone source this crap.
3 days,
Yeah.
resurrected. Krishna of India, born of the Virgin Devaki, with a star in the east signaling his coming. He performed miracles with his disciples, and, upon his death, was resurrected.
All
That-
absolute fucking.
That I don't know. I don't know much about at all.
It's
Honestly,
fucking trash, I can assure you. You read the Bhagavad Gita, you will find many parallels between Krishna and Jesus. Not this trash.
Gotcha.
Dionysius
it's
of
my
Greece,
favorite one.
born of a virgin on December 25th, was a traveling teacher who performed miracles such as turning water into wine. He was referred to as the King of Kings, God's only begotten Son, the Alpha and Omega, and many others. And
Okay, so trash, 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 trash. The only thing they fucking have is this carving of Dionysus on the cross, and that was made like 150, 200 years after Jesus, once Christianity
Right.
was already taking power. So, what the
And a
fuck?
lot of this information as well, I think, is regurgitated from Christianized nations who,
Dude, this information
took
is all
this
from
information
about
and made it
four
what they wanted.
sources that are all fucking garbage. Gerald Massey being one. What's her name? Oh man, Acharya S being another, and Jordan Maxwell. Between the three of them, it's all just trash, 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 trash. Oh, I
Yeah.
fucked everything up. I fucked it up. Hold on.
Oh no.
Hold on, boys. Where were we? Not there. That's for sure. I'm never gonna figure this one out. Where do you think we were?
Let's
Not there.
Let's.
Here we are. We're getting close.
There we go. Yeah. Let's guess wildly until we.
I'm... Hey!
water into
Oh, right
wine.
here. Here we
He was
are.
referred to as the King of Kings, God's only begotten Son, the Alpha and Omega, and many others.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
upon his death, he was resurrected.
Trash, 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 trash.
Mithra of Persia, born of a virgin on December 25th, he had 12 disciples and performed miracles, and upon his death was buried for 3 days and thus resurrected.
I would even consider granting the December 25th to Mithra, seeing as the whole god was associated
I think
with
some of these are
365.
accurate, but I think these are things that were stolen from Mithra and attributed to Jesus. Kind of the reverse of the other things.
I could consider that. I could consider that. The thing is,
Yep.
that's the only part of it that I think could be attributed. And honestly, the thing is because that's the thing is that December 25th is never associated with Jesus in the biblical tale at all.
Yeah, because the time he was born, there wouldn't have been shepherds, and the star wouldn't have been where they say it was, and all kinds of other issues.
It seems to me that December 25th probably should be rightly attributed to Mithra and then attributed to other gods throughout time. And Mithra, because I think there's many things. Something like, I wish I knew this stuff off the top of my head. I wish I could show this to you right now. I believe the name added up to 365, symbolizing the rotation of the Earth around the sun.
Well, and then also saying that a lot of these people have 12 disciples. That could be, what is that? Do they have 12 priests? Do they have 12 advisors? Do they have 12,
I highly
whatever?
doubt any of these people are mentioned as having 12 fucking anything, to be honest.
But then the thing is, for them to have 12, well, the zodiac is 12, and the months are 12, and 12 has been recognized as significant by so many cultures for so long that it's not a stretch to say that they would have 12 of something at some point that they would say, 12 disciples.
Hey man, I did the research. I'm fairly I know who all of these gods are, and I've done the research specifically on this. I considered myself a Christian for a long time, and I still love me some Jesus, no doubt. I'm very partial to Jesus, and I'm very, very I'm more than sympathetic to Christianity. Like, it is my culture. Like, whether I like it or not, that is my culture. So, like, I'm inclined
America.
to defend it. Yeah, hell yeah. Fuck it, why not? Drink beer, America. I don't give a fuck. But, like, yeah, I did a lot of research on this, and most of this crap is totally unfounded and can only be found in the work of Acharya S., who is some bitch who seems to have lied. Yeah.
He was also referred to as the Truth, the Light, and many others. Interestingly, the sacred day of worship of Mithra was Sunday.
Oh.
The day of the sun.
The fact of the matter is, there are numerous saviors from different periods from all over the world which subscribe to these general characteristics.
Yeah, it's kind of
question
a
remains,
common
why
archetype
these
in religion.
attributes? Why the virgin birth on December 25th? Why dead for 3 days and the inevitable resurrection? Why 12 disciples or followers? To find out, let's examine the most recent of the solar messiahs. Jesus Christ was born of the Virgin Mary on December 25th in Bethlehem. His birth was announced by a star in the east, which 3 kings or magi followed.
Sweet Jesus, he's saying it so fast. Half of it's
Yeah.
not in the Bible. Half
And
of it's
wouldn't the
not
most-
in there.
And wouldn't the most recent be Muhammad?
I think you'd be hard pressed to call him a son anything. I always saw.
Well, he said a messiah, didn't he? Or what did he say? I don't
There's an
know.
implication of a sun symbol or something. It wasn't exactly. I think he might have said sun messiah. I always got like a lunar vibe from Islam. I mean, they use the crescent, so it's an easy thing to get. But like,
Yeah.
where Roman Catholicism took on all the sun worshipping aspects, I see Islam as like the flip side of the coin that has the lunar parts.
I'm just trying to wrestle those fuckers, to be honest with you.
To locate and adorn the new Savior. He was a child teacher at 12, and at the age of 30 he was baptized by John the Baptist, and thus began his ministry. Jesus had 12 disciples, which he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick, walking on water, raising the dead. He was also known as the King of Kings, the Son of God, the Light of the World, the Alpha and Omega, the Lamb of God, and many, many others. After being betrayed by his disciple Judas and sold for 30 pieces of silver, he was crucified, placed in the tomb, and after 3 days was resurrected and ascended into heaven. First of all, the birth sequence is completely astrological. The star in the east is Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, which, on December 24th, aligns with the 3 brightest stars in Orion's belt. These 3 bright stars in Orion's belt are called today what they were called in ancient times, the 3 kings. And the 3 kings and the brightest star, Sirius, all
that might be
point to the
bullshit.
place of the sunrise on December 25th.
Yeah, I've never heard it called that.
This is why the 3 kings follow the star in the east, in order to locate the sunrise, the birth of the sun.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
The Virgin Mary is the constellation Virgo, also known as Virgo the Virgin. Virgo in Latin means virgin. Virgo is also referred to as the house of bread, and the representation of Virgo is a virgin holding a sheaf of wheat. This house of bread and its symbol of wheat represents August and September, the time of harvest. In turn, Bethlehem, in fact, literally translates to house of bread. Bethlehem is thus a reference to the constellation Virgo, a place in the sky, not on earth. There's another very interesting phenomenon that occurs around December 25th, or the winter solstice. From the summer solstice to the winter solstice, the days become shorter and colder, And from the perspective of the northern hemisphere, the sun appears to move south and get smaller and more scarce. The shortening of the days and the expiration of the crops when approaching the winter solstice symbolized the process of death to the ancients. It was the death of the sun. And by December 22nd, the sun's demise was fully realized, for the sun, having moved south continually for 6 months, makes it to its lowest point in the sky. Here a curious thing occurs. The sun stops moving south, at least perceivably,
Wow.
for 3 days.
Motherfucking high
And during
school
this 3-day
science
pause,
class.
the sun resides in the vicinity
Right.
of the Southern Cross, or crux,
Blah, blah,
the cross of the zodiac.
Yeah. Yep, crosses are everywhere.
Into the New Age, the age
Illuminati.
of Aquarius. Recognize that approximately every 2150 years, the sunrise on the morning of the spring equinox would occur in a different sign of the zodiac. This has to do with a slow angular wobble that the Earth maintains as it rotates on its axis. It is called a precession because the constellations go backwards rather than through the normal yearly cycle. The amount of time it takes for the precession to go through all 12 signs is roughly 25,765 years. This is also called the Great Year, and ancient societies were very aware of this, and they referred to each 2150-year period as an age. From 4300 BC to 2150 BC, it was the age of Taurus, the bull. From 2150 BC to 1 AD, it was the age of Aries, the ram. And from 1 AD to 2150 AD, it is the age of Pisces, the age we are still in to this day. And in and around 2150,
Age of
we will enter the new
Aquarius.
age, the age of Aquarius. Now,
So
the Bible
I love how this guy, his whole thing here is coming to like, it's all bullshit, nothing's gonna happen, right? Like that's all it means is that we're entering a new age, and it literally means nothing. And that's Peter Joseph's take, right?
Probably, yeah, I mean, eventually.
Now there's that combined with the fact that he's trying to like usher in this golden age of technology that eliminates scarcity and thereby eliminates the need for money and jobs in this like AI utopia. Correct?
As part of the new age, presumably, yeah.
So how are you going to prove that the new age is bullshit while you're also going to be like the new age and it's going to be fucking totally like a utopia? How are you going to do both? How are you going to do both those things?
Well, I mean, I don't know. How can you say that's not a new age? But I guess that's what you're saying.
But I feel
Yeah.
like that is what he's saying. Is that it's not
He's
a new
contradicting
age.
himself.
We're only just going to enter commie utopia.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think it actually is communist, but it's certainly utopian.
Flex, broadly speaking, a symbolic movement through 3 ages while foreshadowing a 4th. In the Old Testament, when Moses comes down Mount Sinai with the 10 Commandments, he is very upset to see his people worshipping a golden bull calf. In fact, he shattered the stone tablets and instructed his people to kill each other in order to purify themselves. Most biblical scholars will attribute this anger to the fact that the Israelites were worshipping a false idol or something to that effect. The reality is, the golden bull is Taurus the bull, and Moses represents the new age of Aries the ram. This is why Jews even today still blow the ram's horn.
The ram's
Moses
horn.
represents the new age of Aries, and upon the new age, everyone must shed the old age. Other deities mark these transitions as well, such as Mithra, a pre-Christian god who kills the bull in the same symbology. Now Jesus is the figure who ushers in the age following Aries, the age of Pisces, or the 2 fish. Fish symbolism is very abundant in the New Testament. Jesus feeds 5,000 people with bread and 2 fish. When he begins his ministry walking along Galilee, he befriends 2...
This is fucking retarded.
Well, it's Christianity.
Well, this isn't the Christianity that's retarded. It's the fact that you can like pick almost any word, like, because that book's like big. There's like a lot of words in the book. These are people who ate fish, so like there's some water there. They were fishermen. They ate fish. You look for fish in the Bible. There's a lot of fish in the Bible. You look for fucking donkeys in the Bible. There's a lot of fucking donkeys. So like,
There's a lot in the world.
where's the age of the donkey though? In
Guess there's not one.
Chinese astrology. I think there is one. I think. Am I wrong? I might be wrong.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Not that I can remember, but I'm retarded too.
Fishermen who follow him. And I think we have all seen the Jesus fish on the back of people's cars. Little do they know what it...
Wow, I didn't know the Jesus fish. Oh, Christ. All these things like that were these symbols, all of the symbols, they all appeared like 200 years later.
actually means.
Right? Am I right there?
Oh, they were all associated with Christianity years later, yeah.
It is a pagan astrological symbolism for the sun's kingdom during the age of Pisces. Also, Jesus' assumed birth date is essentially the start of this age. At Luke 22:10, when Jesus is asked by his disciples where the last Passover would be, Jesus replies, "Behold, when ye are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he entereth in." This scripture is by far one of the most revealing of all the astrological references. The man bearing the pitcher of water is Aquarius, the water bearer, who is always pictured as a man pouring out a pitcher of water. He represents the age after Pisces, and when the sun, God's Son, leaves the age of Pisces, Jesus, it will go into the house of Aquarius, as Aquarius follows Pisces in the precession of the equinoxes. All Jesus is saying is that after the age of Pisces will come the age of Aquarius.
That's all. He was only saying common utopia. That's
Now,
all he
we've
had to
all
say.
heard about the end times and the end of the world. The cartoonish depictions in the book of Revelation aside, the main source of this idea comes from Matthew 28:20, where Jesus says, "I will be with you even to the end of the world." However, in the King James Version, world is a mistranslation, among many mistranslations.
Aeon, the end
The
of
actual
the
word being
age.
used is eon, which
Yeah.
means age. I will be with you even to the end of the age, which is true, as Jesus' solar Piscean personification will end when the sun enters the age of Aquarius. The entire concept of end times and the end of the world is a misinterpreted astrological allegory. Let's tell that
Grindy.
to the approximately 100
So is that
million
when he's
people
coming
in
back then?
America
Is
who believe
2150?
The end of the world is coming.
Sounds about right to me.
Furthermore, the character
Everybody
of
get
Jesus
ready.
being a
I'm ready
literary
right
and
now. Come on,
astrological
Jesus.
hybrid is most explicitly
Jesus,
a
take the
plagiarization
wheel.
of the Egyptian sun god Horus. For example, inscribed about 3,500 years ago on the walls at the Temple of Luxor in Egypt are images of the Annunciation, the miracle conception, the birth, and the adoration of Horus. The images begin with Thoth announcing to the Virgin Isis that she will conceive Horus, then Neph, the Holy Ghost, impregnating the Virgin, and then the virgin birth and the adoration.
Fuck, is that ever a stretch? Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, he gets there eventually, I guess.
There's some fucking pictures. I'm looking at some pictures that some motherfucking put on this motherfucking tablet. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
This is exactly the story of Jesus' miracle conception. In fact, the literary similarities between the Egyptian religion and the Christian religion are staggering.
Wow. We just scroll through this list of shit that's probably
Right.
total crap.
And the
Faster, they're gonna
plagiarism is
say.
continuous. The story of Noah and Noah's Ark is taken directly from tradition. The concept of the Great Flood is ubiquitous throughout the ancient world, with over 200 cited claims in different periods and times. However, one need look no further for a pre-Christian source than the Epic of Gilgamesh, written in 2600 BC. This story talks of a great flood commanded by God, an ark.
What's your take on the flood?
I mean, there are lots of different stories of great floods in different ancient cultures. Um, like the whole idea of what's the word? Antediluvian culture. That's a culture that was before the flood. Supposedly there's a lot of different peoples who have died out that we don't have any records of or anything that are speculated about.
I wonder if
That
I wonder if the Atlanteans did DMT, bro.
Oh, I don't know. I think Atlanta probably was a place, but it wasn't some magical underwater civilization. It was maybe an island.
Have you ever read the Edgar Casey reports on it?
I haven't.
It's very cool stuff. He portrays it as a giant landmass that it's, I don't know, in my mind it's like reminiscent of something like Pangea. And then there were basically they had high technology, and they got to the point where there was just like two warring factions, and one created like this laser weapon with a giant crystal, and it was to fucking wipe out the other side once and for all. They ended up just destroying the entire landmass and breaking it into pieces. And then the idea is that like the any survivors like wound up in other places and they began other civilizations. That's why you see stuff like the pyramids and common stuff like that like early on in societies.
Yeah, that's solid. I mean, that makes sense. It's just the thing is, it's never going to be proven because whatever it is, it was probably too long ago that anything would have lasted.
Yeah, the thing is, even if you could travel back in time and learn, you'd be gay because time travel makes you gay.
Right. And you go back far enough, everything was just stone tablets, and stone tablets just don't last. So recordings of most history are gone.
And you say that, and the funny thing about that is that stone tablets last longer than like anything else.
They lasted a long time, but not forever. I mean,
Oh yeah, sure.
stones erode,
Sure.
and it has to be taken care of. I mean, we're thinking about stones in museums, like stuff like that. But what about something that's in a desert or on a beach or something?
Yeah, sure.
All the stuff that's still out there that hasn't been found.
Animals upon it, and even the release and return of a dove, all held in common with the biblical story among many other similarities. And then there is the plagiarized story of Moses.
The plagiarized story.
It is said
You
that
say it
Moses
like that.
in a reed basket and set adrift in a
Fuck,
river.
dude.
In
That's
order
not
to
cool,
avoid
because religion is like the blues, man. How can you steal the blues? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you take bits and pieces of what you like from this and that and make your own thing.
That's it. That's what it's all about.
infanticide. He was later rescued by a daughter of royalty and raised by her as a prince. This baby in a basket story was lifted directly from the myth of Sargon of Akkad of around 2250 BC.
And everybody out there just knows you just have to sarge on in life sometimes. You just have to sarge on. You have to Sargon of Akkad sometimes. That's all you got to do, everybody. That's where I learned everything I know.
Sargon was born, placed in a reed basket in order to avoid infanticide, and set adrift in a river. He was in turn rescued and raised by Aki, a royal midwife. Furthermore, Moses is known as the lawgiver, the giver of the Ten Commandments, the Mosaic Law. However, the idea of a law being passed from God to a prophet up on a mountain is also a very old motif. Moses is just another lawgiver in a long line of lawgivers in mythological history. In India, Manu was the great lawgiver. In Crete, Minos ascended Mount Dicta, where Zeus gave him the sacred laws. While in Egypt, there was Meses, who carried stones.
Well, there's something like primordially holy, if I'm saying that right, about like climbing the mountain, especially in a time like that.
I mean, where else would you go to receive a message from the gods?
Yeah, well, I mean, I could imagine some other places, but the place to go is the place that's dangerous to you, the place where you might really
Right.
fucking hurt yourself. You might never come back from
Also,
that journey.
also, if people are thinking, our gods are in these planets, which are in the sky, they don't know about space, so they think, okay, the closest I can get to my gods is to go up high. So the mountain is as high as we can go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stone tablets, and upon them the laws of God were written. Manu, Minos, Mises, Moses. And as far as the Ten Commandments, they are taken outright from spell 125 in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. What the Book of the Dead phrased, I have not stolen, became thou shalt not steal. I have not killed, became thou shalt not kill. I have not told lies, became thou shalt not bear false witness, and so forth. In fact, the Egyptian religion is likely the primary foundational basis for the Judeo-Christian theology. Baptism, afterlife, final judgment, virgin birth, death and resurrection, crucifixion, the Ark of the Covenant, circumcision, saviors, Holy Communion, Great Flood, Easter, Christmas, Passover, and many, many more are
Mother's
all
Day,
attributes of
Father's
Christian
Day,
ideas, all
Kwanzaa.
in Christianity and Judaism. Justin Martyr, one of the first Christian historians and defenders, wrote, when we say that he, Jesus Christ, our teacher, was produced without sexual union, was crucified and died and rose again, and ascended into heaven, we propound nothing different from what you believe regarding those who you esteem sons of Jupiter. In a different writing, Justin Martyr said, he was born of a virgin. Accept this in common with what you believe
This is so
of
poor.
Perseus.
It's so fucking poor to like use that as a fucking example why like Jesus has so much in common with all these other fucking
Yeah.
guys. Because like obviously they were trying to convert them.
This fucking neckbeard at his keyboard here.
They were trying to
Justin.
convert the heathens.
Yeah. So they'll tell them whatever they need to hear to make it sound like what they already believe.
Exactly.
It's obvious that Justin and other early Christians knew how similar Christianity was to the pagan religions. However, Justin had a solution. As far as he was concerned, the devil did it. The devil had the foresight to come before Christ and create his characteristics in the pagan world.
Yep.
The devil done did it.
Fundamentalist Christianity, fascinating. These people actually believe the world is 12,000 years old. Swear to God. I actually asked one of these guys, okay, dinosaur fossils. He says, dinosaur fossils? God put those here to test our faith. I think God put you here to test my faith, dude.
I love Bill Hicks. That's good shit.
Yeah.
The Bible is nothing more than an astrotheological literary hybrid, just like nearly all religious myths before it. In fact, the aspect of transference of one character's attributes to a new character can be found within the book itself. In the Old Testament, there is the story of Joseph. Joseph was a prototype for Jesus. Joseph was born of a miracle birth. Jesus was born of a miracle birth. Joseph was of 12 brothers. Jesus had 12 disciples. Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver. Jesus was sold for 30 pieces of silver. Brother Judah suggests the sale of Joseph. Disciple Judas suggests the sale of Jesus. Joseph began his work at the age of 30. Jesus began his work at the age of 30.
What point do you think is being made there?
I don't know. Numbers. Look, they used 12 two different times.
Well, the thing about the
Different
Bible,
things.
when you understand it in context, is that it's kind of like the same story repeating over and over, and there's like many instances of that. Like the hero, like Joshua, in the Old Testament is the same name as Yeshua, Jesus.
Right.
So they say like, like your average Christian take on that is that like that it's like this repeating story being told.
Yeah, it's
over
all
and over again.
tropes.
So I just don't understand how this it's just not like I don't know. I guess and if a Christian was watching this, he probably would find some way to be offended by this, but I don't think it is. It's not challenging to the Jesus narrative at all.
No, it's more about the sociological kind of historical adaptation of religions as they spread, really.
Yeah.
The parallels go on and on. Furthermore, is there any non-biblical historical evidence of any person living with the name Jesus, the son of Mary, who traveled about with 12 followers, healing people and the like? There are numerous historians who lived in and around the Mediterranean either during or soon after the assumed life of Jesus. How many of these historians document this figure? Not one. However, to be fair, that doesn't mean defenders of the historical Jesus haven't claimed.
I don't think that's particularly true.
Yeah, I think just because they didn't write about him doesn't mean he doesn't exist.
I've seen an argument made that he was referenced.
Yeah, I
don't
have
know.
too.
I would have to pull up the documents. I'd have to fucking do that, but hey, whatever.
I've heard that there are Roman Roman documentation of some kind.
Yeah.
Claimed the contrary. 4 historians are typically referenced to justify Jesus' existence. Pliny the Younger, Suetonius, and Tacitus are the first 3. Each one of their entries consists of only a few sentences at best, and only refer to Christus or the Christ, which in fact is not a name but a title. It means the Anointed One. The 4th source is Josephus, and this source has been proven to be a forgery for hundreds of years. Sadly, it is still cited as truth.
Maybe
You would
Peter
think that a
Joseph knows
guy who
something I
rose from the
don't.
dead and ascended into heaven for all eyes to see
Maybe.
and performed the wealth of miracles acclaimed to him would have made it into the historical record. It didn't, because once the evidence is weighed, there are very high odds that the figure known as Jesus did not even exist.
I almost tend to believe that Jesus had to exist simply because nobody doubts it except for motherfucking Peter Joseph.
Yeah, I just think just by looking at how it is today and the impact historically, in literature, in so many different ways, like there had to have been something. Yeah.
And I don't think they'd be vetching so fucking hard. You know, if he didn't exist, he's not a threat, you know? Right? Because if he didn't exist, then he's literally just a creation of the Jews. Like it literally just means that Christianity is just to fleece the goyim.
Right, but then why would the Jews make up a mystery cult to persecute?
What do you mean?
That's what the Christians were at the time. It was this fringe cult of weirdos. And the Jews wanted to get rid of it.
Well, yeah.
And the Romans and all kinds of other people.
Well, when you say the Jews wanted to get rid of it, that was a very specific time. Like that is the Jesus story, correct? I think after that Jesus story, I don't think the Jews were the ones particularly trying to get rid of it. That was the Romans.
No, not at all. It was the Jews. Well,
and it was propagated by people like.
Let me say this: the Jews weren't trying to
Paul.
murder Jesus like the Romans were, but the Jews didn't like Christianity when Christianity existed.
Well, what you're saying is not at all, and I tend to believe the biblical account, which seems to imply that the Romans didn't really give a fuck. They just wanted the Jews to stop kvetching. That's basically how it seems. Like that's how Pontius Pilate was. Like he's like, should I really kill this guy? Do I have to? Is this what y'all want?
Well, that's the Pharisees wanted, and that's Pharisees were Jews.
Yeah, and they are basically what we know today as rabbinical Judaism. That's where they came from.
The Romans needed the Jews to control their finances and.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They just wanted to keep them happy.
Exactly. Yeah, they did. But
it seems to me that like when you have guys like Paul, who was like a pretty I don't know exactly how to say it, but he was like seemed to be a pretty high up figure in Judaism at the time, who converted to Christianity under I don't know, a pretty weird story. Then
Yeah.
goes on to convert like what would become Western culture.
Well, I mean, that's part of why Christianity was ruffling so many feathers, I think.
With who? The Romans?
And the Jews.
I see.
Not with the Romans so much.
I just don't see Jewish persecution of Christians. Like they never really got. I don't know.
No, they didn't persecute them, and like I said earlier, they weren't the ones that wanted to kill Christ, or that did kill Christ.
They did want to, though, is what I'm saying.
But they didn't. They didn't do it. Romans did it.
It's true, but it's literally because the Jews at the time wanted them to. That's the only reason. According to the biblical narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying. They didn't like him enough to fuss about him and get the Jews to get him out of the way. But I don't see them ever doing it themselves.
Who?
The Jews.
You don't think they would have... See, I got the sense that, like, from the story, it sounds like if they could have gotten away with it, they would have just stoned him in the street. That's how the Bible reads to me. And that, like, the Romans were they would have just set him free if they weren't, they didn't just have these, you know.
Well, there
tribe.
there was a random cult on every corner in Rome at that time. They had no reason to single out Jesus.
Sure.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, it's probably a shitty time to live, honestly.
Probably.
We don't want to be unkind, but we want to be factual. We don't want to cause hurt feelings, but we want to be academically correct in what we understand and know to be true. Christianity just is not based on truth. We find that Christianity was in fact nothing more than a Roman story, developed politically.
The reality is, Jesus.
Would you agree with that?
I mean, they're saying that it was entirely made up by Romans, basically. Right?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, okay. I think that's total crap. Completely. I think, like,
Yeah.
you see the adoption of, like, the Roman holy days and stuff like that, but that's a totally different thing.
Right? Yeah, different entirely, yeah.
Jesus was the solar deity of the Gnostic Christian sect, and like all other pagan gods, he was a mythical figure. It was the political establishment that sought to historize the Jesus figure for social control.
That's true, I
In
think.
325 AD in Rome, Emperor
Sure, why
Constantine
not,
convened
once
the
they're
Council
already
of
taking
Nicaea.
over?
It
Once
was
enough
during
people
this
are going
meeting
with
that
it, and if you
politically
want to control the
motivated
people,
Christian
you,
doctrines were established,
you know,
and thus began
make their
a
religion
long
the
history of religious bloodshed,
state
and
religion, I
spiritual
guess.
fraud. And for over
America.
the
The
next
only
1,000
smart
years,
thing to
the
do.
Vatican maintained a political stranglehold on all of Europe, leading to such joyous periods as the Dark Ages, along with enlightening
Joyous
events
periods
such
is
as
the Dark
Crusades
Ages.
and
How
the
funny.
Inquisition.
Yeah, he thinks he's clever.
Christianity, along with all other related theologies, is an historical fraud. These religions now serve to detach the species from the natural world, and likewise each other.
No.
They support blind submission to authority. They reduce human responsibility to the
My fucking fedora is tipping like crazy right now, dude.
Yeah,
It's
right.
off the charts.
effect
Right,
that
my
God
neck beard is
controls everything,
tingling.
and in turn awful crimes can be justified in the name of a divine pursuit. And, most critically, it empowers the political establishment who have been using the myth to manipulate and control societies.
If it wasn't religion, they'd be using literally anything to control societies. There's
Right, it's
1,000
just
billion
what-
ways to do it.
it's just what keeps people following a general code of ethics. It keeps people,
Yeah,
generally
sure.
controllable, I guess.
I would say most people are too fucking stupid to have any like decent understanding of like religion or spirituality.
Oh
It's just the
yeah.
way it is. They're just too goddamn dumb. The best they can do is like, because that's the thing, they can't even figure out like a moral structure at all. They're too fucking stupid. Like they
No, but they'll go to
literally need
church
exactly,
and do what's told.
exactly. That's all they can do. That's the best they can hope for, and I encourage them to keep doing it.
Yeah,
The
whatever.
religious
It's better
myth
than
is one of
nothing.
the most powerful devices ever created, and it serves as the psychological soil upon which other myths can flourish.
A myth is an idea that, while widely believed, is false. In a deeper sense, in the religious sense, a myth serves as an orienting and mobilizing story for a people. The focus is not on the story's relation to reality, but on its function. A story cannot function unless it is believed to be true in the community or the nation.
Nah,
It is
I
not
don't know
a
about
matter of
that.
debate. If some people have the bad taste to raise the question of the truth of the sacred story, the keepers of the faith do not enter into debate with them. They ignore them or denounce them as blasphemers.
It is wrong, blasphemous, and sinful for you to suggest, imply, or help other people come to the conclusion that the U.S. government killed 3,000 of its own citizens.
Oh boy.
Do
All
we
right.
go ahead and call it here? Yeah, everything. That was. It's a. I haven't seen this in probably 10 years, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, it's taking me back. It's taking me right
Taking
back.
me back too. Right? Yeah.
You fucking can appreciate modern video editing a little more since it
Right.
doesn't all just look like a motherfucking college film.
But I gotta
Hey.
say, me is in my what, like early mid 20s watching this. I ate it up.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. Um, so who did WTC?
Oh God. Well, it was me.
You got me.
I think it's very, very plausible that, I mean, the government staged it somehow to make some kind of false flag to start the
Seemingly,
war against Islam.
most likely to me that it was definitely a deal between the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Israel. I
I
think the
mean,
most
Zeitgeist is about to tell us, right?
yeah, they're gonna tell us all
Stay
about
tuned for
Israel.
part 2.
I hope they do. You know, I don't actually remember because what I was about to say.
They do. They get really heavy into 9/11 in this.
But Israel.
Oh, I'm not sure about
That's what
Israel.
I'm saying.
Israel probably made this video, so no.
I think the most damning piece of evidence, I don't know, for some sort of Mossad involvement in 9/11 is the 5 dancing Israelis. Are you familiar?
No.
Well, on 9/11, there were 5 Israelis with video cameras on a rooftop, and they were aiming them at the fucking towers. And they were there before they hit, and they had them aimed perfectly for the hit. And while everything was on fire, someone looked out their window and saw them on the rooftop, and they were dancing. And they called the cops on these guys, and they eventually picked them up down something like the NJ Turnpike or something like that. I'm not sure. But they took him in for questioning, and it turned out these guys were working with Mossad. And this is all totally verifiable. And it's never been sure what they were doing because they were never held accountable for anything.
Because they've had diplomatic immunity, basically.
They're, oy vey, something like that. So,
I'm gonna look it up. I googled it. 5 dancing Israelis.
read me a thing. Find me a thing. Read me a thing.
Let's see. I found a lot of things about them being arrested. Oh, here's 911myths.com.
911myths.com.
A group of young Israeli men, in which some were found out to be Mossad agents, were filming the Twin Towers on 9/11 before the attack, and then were celebrating and taking pictures of themselves with the burning WTC in the background.
Are you gonna debunk me? Is this
Um,
Snopes gonna debunk me right
I'm
now?
looking. Let's see. I don't think they are debunking it.
That's good. That's good. Because I don't like to feel stupid.
That's an awful lot of words, though. So, see. Jesus.
That's what
See.
usually happens. That's what usually happens. Oh, we'll save it till next video. I swear to God, we'll revisit this. No, we won't. Sorry. So it's
Yeah,
been
I don't
real.
know. Yeah,
And
real fun.
I don't know if y'all caught the fucking stream before this.
Well,
Most of my
if
energy
you-
went there. That's where most of my energy was, if you're
Yeah.
wondering. That's where it was hiding. In the stream before this, that I'm going to delete forever.
You're wrangling. Oh, unless you subscribe to our Patreon
My
at the
Yeah.
at the silver level at least.
Donate en.tippy.com. That's Tippy spelled TIPEEE /Yakov Alive. en.tippy.com/Yakov Alive. Donate now.
Is that how people can donate Dogecoin to you?
I told them if you donate 4.45 euros, I'll send you feet pics.
Whoa. All right.
It's on. It's promised. So
I mean, you said it on the internet. It's true now.
oh Jesus, how do I end this stream before I say anything terrible? Jesus. So